until DPS goes wherever they need to go to bring all members back to the Texas House of Representatives, and that the doors be locked.
Last week, it was his heated exchange on the House floor. This week, it's the beginnings of the Budget Conference Committee.
Games are being played. You know, at the end of the day, irrespective of the debate, amendments, or points of orders, you are going to have these bills.
House Appropriations Vice Chairman Sylvester Turner takes us inside the budget negotiations at the state capitol. 15 days left for lawmakers to wrap everything up, but will they have to return this summer? It's all coming up here on Session 11.
From KXAN Austin News, this is Session 11, live interactive breakdowns, insights, interviews, and our weekly roundtable discussion. You're watching Session 11 on KXAN Austin News.
Good morning to you. I'm Robert Hadlock. Thank you for joining us here on Session 11. It's the final stretch at the state capitol, and so many crucial pieces of legislation are left in limbo right now. First up, the Budget Conference Committee. House and Senate appointees have already started hammering out details and are hopeful their compromise will wrap up in these last few weeks without a special session. But one issue that could force lawmakers to come back, possibly in July, according to insiders, is school finance. But one thing that must be finished before the end of the May session is a Senate redistricting map. It's getting a last chance from the committee now and should hit the floor within days.
As you populate the districts and meet the requirements of the Voters' Rights Act and other actions, you kind of distribute people how you think it best works.
And right now, KXAN political reporter Josh Hinkle tells you how you can interact with us this morning on our program. Josh?
Hey, Robert. First, we've got a great On Politics panel lined up today with Jay Root, the newest edition at the Texas Tribune. And you can take part in our roundtable this morning by logging on to KXAN.com. While you're there, click on the On Politics tab at the top. You'll go straight to our special political site where you can check out my latest blog posts. Plus, click the blue bar at the top to chat with us. Our panel will field your questions a little later in the program. Robert?
Thank you, Josh. Our newsmaker this morning is in the budget trenches for the rest of this session as one of two Democrats looking for a compromise on the HB1 Conference Committee. State Representative Sylvester Turner of Houston is also the vice chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. Josh spoke with him at the Capitol about the final steps of the budget process.
The product that comes from the Conference Committee will still cause thousands of teachers to be laid off, thousands of public school employees to be laid off. The formula funding for education for public schools is going to be woefully inadequate. The health care system in the state of Texas is going to be undermined. We're using the Article 2 Medicaid as a credit card to fund everything else, which means the next time we show up, that will be an emergency supplemental appropriation bill of anywhere between $4 to $5 billion just in Article 2 in health services alone. For people who talk about, people say they're opposed to deficit spending, don't want to use the rainy day fund, we are using Article 2, the health care article, as a rainy day fund, a rainy day credit card to pay for some of the other stuff. Now, how ironic can that be? Okay, so it's moving. It's going to be a very quick conference. I think the jury is still out whether or not, when we all finish, whether or not we, in fact, will finish during the regular session. The school financing plan is still up in the air. In the absence of a school, because we are not spending nearly what we need in public schools for public education, we are going to have to change the way, the formula, so to speak, to give money to our local districts, which means we have to reduce the funding mechanism. And when you reduce the funding mechanism, just because we have chosen not to spend what we need to spend, the quality of education, I believe, will be adversely affected. And not just for the people that are in our schools today, but for kids who are entering our public school system for years to come. In my view, it is a hostile attack on public education and on the school children in the state of Texas. And people should not be allowed to leave this session, hit the campaign trail, and argue that education is a top priority. because I think you will see in this budget that it is not. We are compromising the educational quality of our children, and it's going to impact us down the road in terms of getting them ready to go to college, in terms of creating what I call a well-educated workforce in public education and in higher ed. We're not just trimming the budget, we are cutting literally at the core. On the health care side, we'll probably end up addressing the nursing homes at the expense of everybody else in the healthcare arena. So the infrastructure is being plowed up. And while we are doing that, we will be leaving anywhere between, I would say between $9 to $10 billion in the savings account in the rainy day fund. I don't understand the management. I don't understand how you do that. People say that, the people in the state of Texas want smaller government. Well, they will have smaller government. They say people want us to spend fewer dollars. We will spend fewer dollars. But the cost I believe, will far exceed what Texans are asking for. And at the same time, we will protect companies and their interests. The franchise tax has underperformed since we put it in place since 2006. We're not touching that. There's a lot of resistance to speeding up the collection of 25% of the franchise tax because people say that would hurt businesses. I don't think we're going to do that. But people seem to have no problems laying off capable and qualified teachers, or furloughing teachers, or increasing the class size, irrespective of the impact on the quality of education for our children. They don't have any problems with reducing provider rates, making access to health care for our children worse than what it is. They don't have any problems with that.
When you look at the makeup of the conference committee, it seems like we've got some healthcare leaders with Representative Zerwas and Senator Nelson, but when it comes to education, I didn't see any Representative Hochberg or any Senator Shapiro.
Well, that's disappointing. Representative Hochberg, I think by anybody's estimation or opinion, whether you're Republican or Democrat, is a leading representative when it comes to education. That is his area of expertise. I think the response is the people of the state of Texas gave a supermajority and they put it in the hands of the Republicans. And as a result of that, whether it's this conference committee or others, most of your members should be Republican. I just think that when you're dealing in a budgetary crisis, you need those who are best capable of addressing it front and at the center. It's disappointing. Dr. Zerwas, and I have a lot of respect for. I know where his heart is on education. On Health and Human Services. But even Dr. Zerwas can only work with what's before him, and I know he'll do the very best he can in representing the House and in trying to meet many of those core needs. But all of us, whether you got the best on the conference committee or not, the 10 of us will be constrained by the dollars that have been made available for us to work with. Unfortunately, the leadership, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, the leadership has decided that we are not going to work with the rainy day fund with the savings account. We are not going to correct the structural problems that are creating the deficit in large part. We're not going to do that. And we're only going to work with balance this budget primarily through reductions and some non-tax revenue that at the end probably will only generate about $3.5 billion. That's not giving you much to work with. I hope that people won't say, okay, let's wait and see what the conference committee will produce. What I am saying to business leaders and others across this state is that take a look at the Senate's bill. If you don't like it, if you don't think it's enough, it's not going to get any better in this conference committee. In fact, there will be a compromise between the two. If you look at the House bill and if you don't like it, we will probably add, let's say $3.5 billion to it, but that's pretty much what you're going to get.
I'm sure Representative Turner and his colleagues have wondered the same thing we ask in this morning's On Politics poll. Can the conference committee solve the state budget without a special session? Log on to KXAN.com and answer our On Politics poll. We'll see what you have to say later in the program.
House Bill 335 is finally passed. House Bill 1994 is finally passed. House Bill 748 has finally passed.
Texas lawmakers working until the clock strikes midnight. Coming up, Session 11 rushes to squeeze everything in before it's too late.